Hey, welcome back here to CCL for the 2023 season. We're about to get into our final match of the night, and whew, it's a good one. Trust me, this is a hot one we've got for you guys. If you guys were a fan of the Hilltoppers from the last series, well, we got them back on stage. We forcibly forced them to get into this next match, and I don't know if it's a match they would want, to be honest, because Oklahoma Christian, this team, Andy, they people don't probably know, to be honest, the names on this roster. Don't assume.
Well, that's probably because they're living under a rock, Brody, and they're not watching Challengers, which you should be. You should be watching Challengers. It's some of the best players that we got out here as far as Call of Duty is concerned, but as well also being represented by some of the best schools that we have here in the CCL as well. You already knew about St. Edward's Hilltoppers. Now let's talk about OKC. The Eagles, man, out of Oklahoma Christian University. The Kiwi himself, Call of Duty's favorite Kiwi. Cruz is in the building playing along with Ray, Yusufai, and Frosty. Yusufai will be playing in the Challengers Elite. Cruz in Phase 1 unfortunately just missed out. But man, I tell you that guy's just disgusting on land.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, isn't it, the story for Cruz this season, and we are venturing a little bit outside CCL for a second here just to talk about Challengers, which is, I guess, Cruz's native competitive space, because Cruz has had a hell of a season in Modern Warfare 2. He's had a hell of a story, I think, over the last few years. Obviously, last season, making his transition over towards the North American region from Asia Pacific and making waves in doing so as well. And then this season, I think just really establishing not necessarily a dominant presence, but certainly I think a presence that demands a lot of respect for what he's been able to achieve on Phase 1. Top 6, I believe, I want to say like twice. I think they got top 6 at Boston as well as at Raleigh. Phase 1 are just such an enigmatic roster, and it's almost a shame in a way. Like, I rarely show bias. I hope I rarely show bias anyway. I rarely intentionally show bias, but I would be more than happy to say I am biased towards Phase 1 just because of the story surrounding that team. So it's a shame in a way that they didn't qualify for Season 2. But of course, on the flip side of that, you have a player like Yusufai, who also has been making a name for themselves this year, playing alongside Smog Alpha inside Challengers Elite for Season 2. So a couple of known names on that roster, as well as a couple of ones that maybe don't. So a lot of firepower behind Oklahoma Christian. But let's take a look at the Hilltoppers then, St. Edwards, to see what they're up to on their roster. I mean, this is just maybe for you guys who didn't get to see them in last season. It's Fresh, Fresh, Vanity, Eons, and Reality. I mean, like, again, the story, I think, has changed for you and I, right, Andy? Because we were discussing Fresh as, like, the headliner player. I don't know if that's the case anymore.
No, I was just saying that Thresh is a main slayer. I mean, you can go back and even, like, when we were talking about it before getting into that match, like, there's one player in particular that I just really want to see more of. I mean, I feel like that if Eons gets on a really good team, like, even from Challengers, like, this guy could easily be, like, a top 16, top 12 player. But, I mean, Eons has been that guy. Obviously, some consistency errors when it came down to the map number 3 in their 3-1 win over the Dust Devils in our second series of the evening. But trust me when I tell you that this team's cohesion is at an all-time high. All 4 players are returning to represent the Hilltoppers, much like they did in the Vanguard year last year.
Yeah, it's just a great matchup, isn't it? Of course, Thresh versus Yusufai and Cruz, I think, is like the headliner here. Of course, Challengers players that have all competed against one another at the highest level of Challengers, I suppose, not the highest level of Pro G Esports, because that would be CDL, wouldn't it? But yeah, looking pretty good here. And of course, they're joined by some pretty talented players as well on both rosters. So we've laid out the rosters for you guys. Let's lay out the map set as well. This has surprised me because I actually hadn't had a look at it. I basically ran between the break to do a few
This is
couple
going
of
to be an
things.
interesting one.
Yeah, let's see what we've got. Oh, would you believe it, Andy? I have got a not so surprise for you. We're seeing 3 hotels again. Mate, this statistic is going up and up and up.
Yeah, it's just where I get a little bit more concerned is that, like, you can you can take it with a grain of salt with how we saw the Hilltoppers play against the Dust Devils in their map number 1 of Hotel Hardpoint. It was very, very competitive. Probably a little bit too competitive to where the Hilltoppers had wanted through the map number 1, but then they absolutely snapped it in the second set and only allowed 30-something odd points to come through for the Dust Devils to win 250 to 166.
Yeah.
This team of Oklahoma Christian are not going to allow them to get away with such highway robbery. There's just as much slaying power on the opposite side of this lobby of the Hilltoppers as they are bringing to the table.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I'm really glad you brought that up because, again, like, we can kind of praise Hilltoppers for coming back in the way that they did, but it's a completely different story when you frame it up versus the Eagles here in this matchup, right? It's like you're just not going to be able to pull that off. It's a completely different story, isn't it? But you know, at the end of the day, maybe that tenacity would still pull through. I can't speak English. Through versus the Eagles here in this matchup. We shall see. Ultimately, again, we don't really know what to expect from this Eagles roster beyond, like, we know the names on the team, or at least 2 of the names at least. So how does that fit into this mixture? I mean, does that work here versus the Hilltoppers? Frankly, who knows, to be honest. But nonetheless, the Hilltoppers certainly did impress you and I. It's actually the control later on in the series, though, that I'm a little bit more concerned about than anything. Like, not just this map number 1, Andy. It's like, that control for Hilltoppers, they were making some really, like, rookie errors. And if things were not going well against the Dust Devils, you're definitely not going to be able to pull that off versus the Eagles.
Yeah, and one thing that I was hypercritical about with this with St. Edwards when we were getting out of their matchup just previous to this one is that they were succumbing to very just simple errors where, like, you go back on that hotel map 1 and they were trying to break P4 and they were all just, like, flooding through couches. It was the same thing on that hotel control when they were trying to get that B zone. Yeah, you were down 25 seconds, but it almost felt like that the SMGs were afraid to hit a route, that the AR flex was just a little bit too stiff and didn't want to hit a route. They were 1 route away from either finding a kill in towards the back line to open up the front line. If you make simplistic errors like that versus the Eagles, they're going to chew you up and quite literally spit you out into bird food.
Yeah, and we should say as well, you know, obviously, you know, these guys at the moment, Oklahoma Christian, the Eagles, last season, this is not the first time we got to see these guys. They came out with a different roster. They had Fast Baller and Dez, I believe, as the players in place of Cruz and Frosty, the player that they're actually adding to the roster this season. So they've got some new players on the team. Last season, they actually had a pretty good run of things. They went 7-3 in Stage 1 and 9-2 in Stage 2 as well. So it's actually going to be an interesting story to see kind of what things are like now between that season and this season with the players on the roster. Now, we've got a little bit of time to mess around with here. So I can see it. The smile is rising on your face, Andy. You know it's coming, buddy. It's time to talk about the Eagles and their logo and their mascot. Because the Hilltoppers, I've already rated them, mate. We can't be doing that again. But we can be putting the Eagles somewhere on the Infinity logo mascot scale. Look, Hilltoppers, I had them up. I think I said at like an 8.5, I think is what I had them at, 7.5 or something like that. I'm not too sure where I actually ended up putting them. But the Eagles, pretty basic. I'm not going to lie. It's down on like a 4.
You don't like it?
It's just, maybe because I don't relate to the whole, like, obviously I'm British. I'm British, as you guys, as Logan would say. So maybe because I just don't relate to the whole, like, the patriotism of the Eagles that much, you know, like kind of that's the crest of the US.
I don't know if it's like a bald eagle, but like,
well, no, maybe not.
You're looking like,
am I being harsh here?
Eagle. I don't know. You're being
am I going to Simon Cowell?
I mean, comparatively to the Hilltoppers, like, I mean, like, look at the Hilltoppers logo in particular. Like, there's like some dynamic shadows going on and stuff like that. Like, look at like the puffs of the fur.
What is
like,
this?
I mean, you got like some really like interesting shadows at the bottom of the beak, like leading to the like the is it called like the gull? Is like the bird's like
the
underneath
gull?
Their jaw?
Yes, that is a gull.
But like St. Edwards though, I don't know. Like it just it looks a whole lot more dynamic. I think it's close. I think it's close, but I think 4 is a little harsh.
4 is a little harsh. Well, guess what, buddy? I don't care. It's my rating. I created the system, so I'm good. I'll do what I want.
Not bad.
Listen, it could have been worse. I could have given them a 3 or a 2 or a 1. There are 3 numbers below that. 3, and I've even added a 0.5 scale, so I give them 6 lower ratings than that. So look, consider yourselves lucky. Right, you survived this test. Anyway, regardless, we'll have the lobby up soon, guys. We apologize. We can vamp about a lot of things. To be fair, we just got this kind of mini game going just while we're having fun, because this is what this is all about. It's been a very fun night. I will say that much, Andy, mate. It's been a long one for me. It's now 3:30 in the morning, but I'm still somehow full of energy, which I feel like I might regret later on when it comes to going to sleep. But ready for energy for this matchup, as I believe map number 1 is about to get ready to get underway between Oklahoma Christian and St. Edwards. Excited to get into this one.
It's got to be said as well. I was talking about St. Edwards being one of the top 2 teams, if not potentially number 1. That potential and that question mark comes through in this specific series. This is number 1, number 2 in the Western Division, or in the Western region, excuse me, for Division 1. This is going to settle who the number 1 team is. In my own opinion, I'm sure a lot of people's opinions as well. I'll throw Pally Boy out there as well. I'm sure he's licking his lips. He's excited for this match because this will be the number 1 team out of the Western region for Division 1.
All right, well, let's see. Andy, you've got me hyped, mate. I'm ready to go. I'm shaking to get into this matchup, and I'm sure Oklahoma Christian are as well, as the Eagles starting pretty strong. First wave of gunfights will be going their way, and in terms of wiping St. Edwards off the map and getting them to lose control of the P2 spawns, things have gone very well Now can they follow up with another wave of gunfights? Gus and Ray can pick up a couple of kills. Fresh and Vanity answering back with some kills of their own, but a massive 2-piece from Gus should secure those spawns of P2.
Yeah, north to south spawns are actually what's going to end up occurring there, just off of a previous location held by a Hilltopper member. Did get swiftly traded out, as you say. Now the Eagles are able to cut past Restaurant and Chandelier to maintain that P2 presence. Just 10 seconds, scrap to scrap time are all you're going to potentially get over on side of P1. At least you thought so. Ray's going to eviscerate at least one. They're reading that the push is actually coming through P4. Thresh will find two, but he's on this push by himself.
Now the Eagles in control of that rotation. We talked about it. They wanted to be on this side of the map. St. Edwards have been unable to break this egg, regardless of how many taps they've given it. Fresh now trying to be all sneaky, like recognizes the players towards shops and realizes probably, if anything, they should take out Gus before moving forward, and they do exactly that. Kills on the other side as well from Reality, but it's a double from Frosty and Cruz. They combine for a 2 here. The Eagles not giving up just yet, regardless of how many times St. Edwards knock at the door. It is ultimately the Eagles that continue to deny access.
Yep, access denied. You do not have a hotel room booked here at Breamberg. Cruz is on 4 in a row. You still have close spawns into effect towards the back staircase. Oh, Gus is just playing with his food goods. You are just disgusting. 6 and 3 start. Cruz picks up a Vaznev. He's already looking for the rotation over towards New, but unbeknownst to Cruz, Thresh was already locked and loaded through the mid-tables there. So at least the rotation ahead of the new hardpoint will be maintained. And they're actually forcing a spawn out. You saw player number 1. Reality actually spawned all the way in towards the back. That's thanks to Ray. He's pushing to the backside of Kitchen currently.
Back on both sides here for the Eagles. Maybe a third angle as well if they're able to get 1 kill. Is Frosty towards that little map area, but kills coming through. Fresh and Eons combined for 3. Gus now the last one left alive, and he's taking shots. Somehow survived with 7 bullets left in the magazine. He will finally be hunted down. So kills going the way of St. Edwards here. Big hard point and a big back 30 fight. Eons really heating up. Gets too aggressive towards the middle of the map though, and finally shut down. And Fresh on 4 in a row has the cruise missile in his line of sight, and Vanity gets a few extra bullets in the body there as he picks up yet another 2-piece. St. Edwards with a solid hardpoint and a very important one at that.
Yeah, no, this is massive, but you're still battling over some scrap time. It was a 2v2, but St. Edwards are just too good here at the Kitchen hardpoint. They're going to be able to walk away with, felt like, about 40 to maybe 50 seconds or so. That'll keep this game just about even ahead of the rotation towards New here at P4. Vanity's on that force spree still. He's going to be looking for a couple of easier gunfights. He's able to find one, but he's going to be immediately traded out. So no cruise missile has been earned. Oklahoma Christian, they are in. They got the close spawns to boot.
Big stop on that cruise missile now. Eagles gonna hold here. Frosty, first gunfight, not gonna get it done as St. Edwards now starting to get aggressive, and this is a problem now for the Eagles. They have to fight from these back spawns. St. Edwards should be aware of the fact that the Eagles have spawn kit. All the utility going out that direction. Not enough to break the hard point just yet. I'm feeling that Gusify and Cruz going to try and play this one together. Shots coming in from Cruz should be enough to provide coverage as Ray towards the back line will now break back in for the back 25 seconds. This is a rather pragmatic hard point between the two teams. Cruz from long range, able to pick up a couple of kills again, though. Is it enough as the trades are good for Eons? Again, a very scrappy hard point with close spawns for Eagles. Not enough to secure a ton of time away from St. Edwards.
Yeah, I was about to call it. I mean, just because you have the close spawn doesn't mean you're going to always guarantee yourself a lot of time. P4 could very realistically be held from the front, and that was exemplified to a fine tee by St. Edwards, but oh no. You just can't afford to get snapped on like that. I think there was more than one player that at least you were being looked at, but Oklahoma Christian should not be allowed this free rotation over towards New. And look at the spread. This is looking like an A-zone defense on control. St. Edwards struggling to even find a way in.
And they must, I think at this point, again, this is a big chunk of time to give away to the Eagles. At least make sure that you stay on that side of the map for the rotation towards the next hardpoint. Ray, let's pick up one. Shots going out towards Reality. Not able to win that gunfight, but perhaps from behind, Frosty can cause some carnage, and carnage is exactly what he will deliver. He and Cruz, again, get 3 kills, and that back 20 should be theirs. If St. Edwards are smart about it, I will say that much. They have to make sure that they don't get hyper-aggressive through. They make sure they hold on, but Frosty has having absolutely none of it. On a hell of a spree there. Finally, going to get shut down here, but damage done. The door has been open for Oklahoma Christian.
And this is where things can turn into a bad situation to even further disastrous if you are St. Edwards. As you were saying, that door is open. You only have one player that's actually contesting the hardpoint. That was Ray off screen. He will be taken down by Vanity, who's here trying to contest the new hill. We'll have some assistance. Those close spawns will be secure for the time being. And Gusify is actually slightly disciplined through the middle of the map. He's trying to wait for reinforcements, but allows Reality to get into this position to try to cut down reinforcements, but can only find one.
Gunfight still going down. Frosty, yet another two pieces. How many two pieces is Frosty going to get so far in this game? He's 20 and 12. Easily the highest point player at the moment for the Eagles. Going to continue that as well. Shots on towards Reality, towards the back line. Reality surely dead to rights here, and he will be. So a lot of time being cleared up now for the Eagles as Frosty gets yet another one. That should be the final fight over this hard point. And again, these last two hard points have been so crucial for the Eagles to put some serious distance between themselves and the Hilltoppers.
Yeah, it's legitimately just that. It goes all the way back towards even that restaurant hard point. It was just such a great hold. Oklahoma Christian were able to put on towards their total tally as far as points is concerned, and then they continued on with the ventures all the way through the majority of these hard points. It's making it really, really difficult for St. Edwards to even find their way in, and this is where the conversation for Leaders Advantage starts to come in the wings, is that St. Edwards, they're down by about 70 points. The Eagles can afford to play this rather scrappy and just play for 20, 30 seconds here, so long as they're denying the majority of the time away from the Hilltoppers.
Yeah, about making sure you stay on that side of the map. Back 25, you can give this away if you're the Eagles. Just make sure you do not allow players to filter through in. They might well have done that. Look at number 3. It's Vanity. He's managed to filter through the back line. Those north-south spawns that you always love to talk about, Andy, they're in effect here. The Eagles know that something is right. They do manage to deal with Vanity for that rotation, though. So it was a bit of a worrisome prospect for them to lose the rotation over towards New, but it is a worrisome prospect that will now be dispelled. Now they do have control. Hilltoppers looking to push through. Right. Open up the first blood through the middle of the map, though. Reality, perhaps he can do something, and look at it. It's a wall of red in the kill feed.
It's just clinical for the Eagles again. Player number 8 for Goosey. He is in the best position possible, just blocking the spawns inside a spa. That allows the rest of the Eagles to play in and around of the hole in the wall over by Chandelier and closer towards those back steps. Now you got Frosty to deal with on that head glitch of the help desk itself. This is, again, another one-dimensional hit. All of the Hilltoppers are essentially just flooding through the same doorway, and they never find the trades required for an emphatic break. This is about to be a full 60 for Oklahoma Christian, marching their way towards a 250 scoreline.
It's just such an integral hard point, isn't it? The back 15, it doesn't really matter at this point for St. Edwards. I mean, it's nice to take away, but you have to make sure you get this rotation. As these last few kills coming through, Gusify able to secure the cruise missile, and things go from bad to worse for the Hilltoppers here in this situation. Right. Now starting to push through. You cannot lose these gunfights. Now finding yourselves in a 2 versus 2 of the last remaining players in the point. They are just getting decimated. It's all down to Vanity. Something huge is what's required, and you're about to get a tackle from 3 different angles. Vanity, he's actually able to get 1, so it might well keep St. Edwards in the conversation at the very least. Ray and Gus are in, though, and the streak could be utilized by the Eagles whenever they so desire. One last hit, 10 seconds here before the Eagles take us for a victory here in map number 1. Gus just flying, taking down 2. One last hurrah here from Eons, and he is going to be shut down. Can anybody touch? I don't think the Hilltoppers even want to bother. Just pad the stats at the end of that game. Why on earth not, as the Eagles very, very strong on those last 2 hard points. It looks like a very dominant hard point. St. Edwards, they fought hard for it, but again, when it mattered, there was a serious difference between the 2 teams.
I mean, you even called it, right? I mean, you can battle for the scrap time over by P2, but you more or less have to reconcile that you are allowing a full 60 to come all the way through. That once you try to send players to maybe try to combatant for those 10 seconds over by P2, you're allowing a spawn out to occur closer towards that B control zone. Much less a lane, a flankertunity, if you will, for the rest of the Eagles to be able to come all the way through the south side of the map, pinch inside a kitchen, and make the rest of the Hilltopper spawn over by Old. Cruz was just sitting there just waiting the entire time. They completely overwhelmed them. It was so disciplined. Was that P2 hold? And then once they got in towards P3, that is why we talk about a lot of these players, especially when they are showcasing their abilities not only in the Challengers Elite, through a lot of the Opens as well. It was clinical, to say the least, with the way that OKC were playing through that hard point.
Just incredible. Really incredible. And I think there were just a couple of crucial moments, really. Things relatively close, I think, for basically the entirety of the first 4 or 5 hard points, I want to say. But I think where the difference really started to be made was D5 to B6, I think, was the first big one where we saw Oklahoma Christian just taking not just like the back 30 seconds away from St. Edwards, but actually a significant chunk of time where St. Edwards were not able to get it done. And then, of course, securing the rotation from P1 to P2 as well. Oklahoma Christian doing a stellar job at bringing it to St. Edwards here in this game. Take a look at the stats at the end of the game as well. But yeah, it really does come down very often, I think, on Hardpoint, and especially here on Hotel, to a couple of crucial moments. And that is effectively how that one went.
I mean, it's like you even asked, like, how many two pieces are we getting out of everybody from the Eagles? It's not just one or two. I mean, yeah, say what you will. Ray didn't have the sexiest KD ratio in the world, but the guy's soaking up hardpoint time. But everybody else is putting on a masterful clinic about just finding these two pieces, getting these team shots, and enabling players like Gus to be able to go on this crazy and wild streak towards the very end with a Vaznev 9K. Really put in the final nail in the coffin. St. Edwards hopes to be able to come all the way back from the hard point. And it does say something when we were talking about how good the Hilltoppers looked in their previous series versus the Dust Devils in that second set of hard points, only allowing 30 seconds to come through. This time around, Oklahoma Christian did exactly what St. Edwards did to the Dust Devils. Oklahoma Christian just somehow found that next gear, that next stride, a second win, more words, maybe. It was only Thresh and Eons that really found a high impact for the rest of the team for St. Edwards, but Vanity and Reality were almost a non-benefactor. When they were set up inside the hard point throughout the second set, they just couldn't hold on to it. From top to bottom, everybody besides Gus had a minute plus worth of hard point time for Oklahoma Christian, not to mention all the non-traded kills comparatively to the amount of kills. Again, Ray, 12 and 18, a minute 43 seconds worth of OBJ time, 10 of those 12 kills non-traded. Yeah, I'll take that to go.
Yeah, everybody's playing extremely well, as you say. And I think the thing kind of encapsulated there when you talked about kind of the two pieces that were coming through, like there were so many crucial two pieces as well. Like they weren't just useless two pieces, like they were just like slaying out like in random areas of the map. Like no, these two pieces really just make the difference there. And we just saw way too many of them that it just became kind of overwhelming, I think, to a certain extent for the Hilltoppers. Not able to fight back in that hard point. We talked about it coming into it, right? Especially when we compare kind of what we just saw then from the Hilltoppers to what we saw in the previous match versus the Dust Devils. The Hilltoppers, if there were any mistakes, I think it was absolutely certain that Eagles were going to capitalize on them. They looked good in map number 1. So not the start that the Hilltoppers would have wanted in this series, but maybe the Search and Destroy can go their way. We are returning to Hotel for that one, but that is a stain on the best of 5 if you're a Hilltops fan.
Yeah, we got a 3-night stay here at Greenberg Hotel, Search and Destroy, and then the guaranteed Map 3 hotel control. And if you're a fan of St. Edwards altogether, you're really hoping that the hotel Search and Destroy Map 2 is going to be beneficial to their success, because hotel control, even versus the Dust Devils, they just looked lost, confused, and much like how even that break attempt came through on P2, it just way too one-dimensionally. All those things need to be rectified once we do end up getting there, of course, but Search and Destroy, when you go back to that previous series that we had on the day versus the Dust Devils, yeah, it was on Ellis Silo, but, I mean, these guys were clinical. They were decisive. Every single plan was always executed to such a high degree when they went on a 4-round stint in a row, and they were making some really cool pop-off plays along the way, one of which was Eons that had a 1v3. Reality also had a really nice 1v3 in a post-man situation. You also got to be wary about Vanity that could also pull out the sniper. I mean, it's not as diverse on a map like Hotel. You're almost always expecting for that player defensively with a sniper to be bottom luggage, stun through the door. He's going to be sniping through that that little crossbar, or the luggage carrier, I guess, or the dolly. I don't know. I don't even know what it's actually called. I think it's a dolly. But regardless of the matter, you're going to be looking for a lot of these players to make those mid-round adjustments to be able to understand the tendencies of the enemy team. We are reaching a certain epsilon of players in the lobby where Search and Destroy needs to be a bread and butter.
Yeah, absolutely we are. And you already talked about it there, right? You know, we have seen Hilltoppers on Search and Destroy, and they looked very good against the Dust Devils. Like, those back 4 rounds, I still can't quite believe that we got to witness it, to be honest, Andy, because some of the plays that we were seeing are just, like, frankly insane. But again, it's that conversation point about, like, are you able to pull the same thing off against this Eagles roster? Like, that's the bottom line for me, is just like, this Eagles roster is just, like, quite clearly in that hard point, different gravy. And we've already seen, again, players like Cruz, players like Goosify, play Search and Destroy at Challengers level, and they are very successful at that. So we'll see, man. We'll see how this goes. I am personally excited to see those sniper battles that you talk about, though. I'm curious who brings them out for both of these two teams. It won't be long before we have the answer to that question, though, as we're going to kick off things off here on Hotel Search and Destroy with St. Edwards on the offensive side. And it feels like they're just cutting the map at the moment, trying to draw somebody from the Eagles out.
with a sub, puts himself on a restaurant island. Even saw right there, it's Frosty that's actually sniping. Eons will find a trade. So 3v3, look at the immediate response from Oklahoma Christian. They have to respect that this could be a B execute, just off of the potential information that Cruz saw.
Eons is still looming, by the way. It's not like he's just like threatened the opposing side and just dipped. He's still over here causing problems for the Eagles. A lot of real estate given up at the moment, but it's okay because elsewhere, Fresh has fallen to Ray. Now this does leave the Hilltoppers in a bit of an awkward spot, doesn't it? Because the bomb is still down over towards A. 35 seconds is not actually that much time to go retrieve it.
Yeah, so now you just have to hold the line. 3v2. You got one player watching mid-map. That's going to be Frosty. Reality's going to be the player that has to go, and they're going to try to win this on two different fronts. Eons is making a play through Freezer. Gus is just watching it. Tough gunfight, though. Eons will take down Gus. Bomb still needs to be retrieved. Reality, I think, threw some shots over towards Ray. He gave up that positioning, but has not recovered the bomb. Time is running out.
I was going to say, I mean, do you actually draw those players away? That's the question. Reality should be able to get this bomb down, to be fair. Never mind. Eons falls there. If Eons plays his life, he might be able to do something, but that's tough. Time is just your enemy. You know, they lose that, I think, second player, to be honest. I think it all just falls apart.
It's just really weird. Because, I mean, like, Eons makes that push happen all the way across restaurant. He finds first blood. You saw the immediate reaction coming through from the Eagles that you had one player try to go pick things up over by the kitchen bomb site, or at B. But Frosty just had to hold the atrium with the boomstick. He found that first pick, and he didn't have to move. That Ray just playing the timing, an absolute fine tee, all you really needed. Now an offensive round. It's a full-on flood over by A. Just one player is going to be Cruz on the island, closer towards B.
Oh, that's an up-close and personal boomstick if I've ever seen one. Frosty, he wants it. It's silly to be thrown out now. Cruz going to draw the first blood in this round. Finally, Eagles got something to work with here in this S&D. Frosty just going to back away, maybe looking for the 1v1 against Vanity. Vanity taking this slow, though. You talked about this position, and, well, Gus is just going to take him down. Vanity out of the round now, and, yeah, this is just so much real estate here for the Eagles. Okay.
I mean, if Frosty's always good for one, like, per round with the boomstick, yeah, keep him out there, man. Keep the boomstick. There's the communication coming through, the full flood from the other three players. What are you supposed to do? Oh, man. Winter's just about over. These Eagles are flying together, man. It's Frosty that's able to get the kill with the pistol nonetheless. I mean, this player was quite literally one shot. Just the one shot right there with the X12 pistol. But, I mean, how cool was that? Again, that's a very standardized rollout when you're thinking offensively. Just the one wrench in the system was Frosty playing on info with a sniper rifle. That was just so weird. But, I mean, it works out. Cruz finding that first all the way across the B lane. Then Edwards have to respect that. It causes considerable doubt. But there was just so much information over by the A-bomb that they just had to commit towards.
That's a good start. Understatement of the year from the Eagles. Exactly what they wanted. Now, for the Hilltoppers, you need to do something. That's going to be a good start. Frosty going to be down. The bomb will be down as well. So this should send Eagles for a whirl. Pressure over towards couches and inside bedroom as well.
Time ticking down. Kills are starting to come through as well. Ray needs to be able to find at least two here. He's up against the Godheady as well. Now, this round is not going to be an easy one. You have to essentially fly, but time, again, not on their side.
A lot of utility if any of that lands. To Vanity would have been a manageable situation, but actually now it might well be. 13 seconds left. They're looking in the right direction. That the stun is so detrimental. If that stun doesn't land, they might well have a chance. They're sitting right next to the bomb. But no, St. Edwards, they get it done. First blood and bomb down simultaneously.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you need to do, right? You just kind of need this round, if you are St. Edwards, to get that extra pep in your step, right? Just to be able to confirm that we can get a fast hit over towards this bomb site. And also just brute force our way with all of the kills. Again, Eons is that guy that you can lean on. He's 5-2. Not only just leading the lobby as far as kills are concerned, but he's also the only one that's really finding a lot of productivity on his team. Now, everybody else is finding damage, but so long as Eons can clean things up, this could be a step in the right direction for the Hilltoppers.
Aggressive here. Good response coming out from the Eagles, but they have to be careful. They have to make sure they secure their backside. Eons has been called out there. Gus going to take him down. It's going to be Stripe Kill Feed coming out, and trades in the 3-for-2. Goodness, that's a lot of gunfights going in favor here of St. Edwards. Now 2-for-1. Ray has the bomb in hand, so doesn't need to go on a retrieval mission, but this is still very awkward for him.
Got a Vaznev as well. Vanity, Reality, they can keep him at arm's reach. Pistol, snaking. What's going to happen? Great, take the chow. Oh. No. Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, yeah, somebody. I need that on a soundboard right there. I just need you on a soundboard, Andy. That's what I need in my life.
I am very soundboardable.
All right, Vanity. I don't have anything, mate. Vanity with a pistol, gonna win that one out. Big 2 rounds coming out. The Hilltoppers. They needed that. And let's see what the Eagles do here on the defensive side. Where does St. Edwards take this bomb? Feels like A has been the bomb of choice for these guys so far. And while the first blood will go the way of Frosty, if Vanity could outsnipe him here on luggage, would make this situation better. Nade should tag. Actually doesn't. And well, back. Frosty. Yeah, Frosty just in the position. That's 2 for him.
Yeah, you essentially need to be closer on the other side of D2 for that nade to collapse. I mean, Frosty's good for 2 in the round with a boomstick, playing in the same exact positioning. I mean, I feel like he's just taking his hand off of the left stick. Like, he's not moving from that position. I feel like this round can only be salvaged in a 2v4 if Eons can make a play, but I mean, you got all the information of the world off of those 2 picks. Eons doesn't even have dead silence. Let's have time to wait. And the bomb is recovered by Reality. He's trying to make his way all the way behind enemy lines. It's going to be isolated 1v1s crossboard.
He's just spotted out Gus as well. And there you go. As you say, really well played. They don't follow that with another one. Good kill by Cruz to trade things out. Reality in a 1 versus 2. That's nice shots against Cruz. Right, the player was weak, but nonetheless, nice shots. Reality's not going to check that right corner, though. And Frosty, oh, it's shaky. Gets the kill with the pistol, though. Stopping the bleeding. Now are the Eagles.
He's good for 3, man. 2 snipers. I mean, if you're Vanity on the opposite side, like, you're forced to take that chow. I mean, here in Modern Warfare 2, like, we don't have smokes, right? So, like, you're not going to be able to smoke that out and try to cross back over to maybe try to help out Eons over by B. So, I don't know. It's just, it's Frosty with the sniper. He's just shutting things down in the longest way possible, and it continuously calls on Eons to try to make a play happen. Also, important to know, I think Cruz had an SMG there. Almost got the better of Reality. Just how on point this guy's shot is. Another A hit coming through. Again, Cruz on an island over by restaurant.
Why not catch the player? Look at the player on the minimap. Did you just see him? Yeah, he's just seen him. Yeah, I think he's just seen him. The call has to be made, though, that Eons might get there before Cruz can deal with him. And there you go. Finally, Cruz does get it off screen. It's a massive gunfight to take. A lot of pressure now for Oklahoma Christian on the point.
Numbers, flank secured. It will get tagged down, though. Bomb needs to be recovered, and they need to somehow find the space, which means it's going to be called on Cruz to try to push up. Let's just actually try to flip this. And Cruz is going to clear all the way at B. Frosty still has the sniper. He's going to get confirmation. There's only 1 player that's coming over there, and he just hits the shot. Are you kidding me? It is all crumbling at the seams.
And I still don't even know if Vanity's aware of the fact that this bomb is moving. He still needs to win at least one of these gunfights. That flash should secure it, and yep, Gus down. Now Vanity finds himself in a 1 versus 2. Very far removed from this bomb. But the time he took there, I thought it might work out for him in the end. But Cruz, sturdy as ever, will not let that one go. We're trading doubles here in Search and Destroy.
It's a similar offensive rollout. We've seen that now. That would be the 2nd time from the Eagles where Cruz is on that island by himself. As you're saying, I mean, you and I were having a little fun mini game, at least with the arrows of the mini map. Just like, did he at least see him cross all the way over there? Did he catch Eons? It's absolutely the case, and he shot him in the back before he could even get inside spawn and blow over in that play. But the other 3 players for Oklahoma Christian just get up towards info as if they're committing towards A. A trade comes through, and then they just quickly rotate back through. Frosty with this boomstick has just been so influential to the success that the Eagles have found so far.
Now for the Hilltoppers, I think they want something a little bit more unconventional. Okay, pretty much every single hit so far in the Search and Destroy has been a solid A. And Cruz, I'm pretty sure if any human stood on top of a TV, they would break it. Maybe like Eric Boone would be the only human I know that probably would break a TV standing on top of it.
They're catching strays. collegiate game. Come on now, man.
Yeah, sorry, Eric's like the smallest person I can think of. Regardless, Cruz will fall anyway. He'll remove himself from the top of the television, and Eons has found himself around from behind. Surely it's Sony Destiny. No! I thought it was Destiny that he was going to die. Eons has other plans. What is that?
I don't know. Vanity. I mean, he's not going to get that information. That Frosty is rotating through. He's got dead silence as well. Bomb just got planted at B, and he has the read on the first. He knows where the other two players have to be located at. They're inside of the site. Wallbang shots are not going to be good, but help has arrived with Ray.
Every single wall has been shot basically here on Hotel for Frosty to try and re-entry towards this site fresh with the information at least on one. Look at the push coming ground from the back here. Eons having a hell of a round. Turns on one, picks up two to close things out. And yeah, again, St. Edwards, they change up their strategy there and it will work.
Dion's with the dead silence. Again, double positive, 10 and 5. This guy had a whale of a performance in the second series of the day versus the Dust Devils on LSULO, where they won 6-2, had a nasty 1v3 to solidify it. But it's a little place like that. You get the straight trades, make sure that you maintain numbers advantage. And by taking down Cruz, you can tell that St. Edwards are really starting to piece it together. That Cruz is that sole B defender. So if they deal with Cruz and they keep numbers, they could probably overwhelm the B bomb site. For the Eagles are probably going to take an adjustment later on. This time, 4 players strong for the Eagles hitting towards A.
Yeah, having none of that funny business over towards B. Back to classic all day. And you can see as well, by the way, look at the effect of Frosty that these guys are having on St. Edwards. There is nobody inside luggage. Like, St. Edwards have completely changed their defensive strategy, and it's there. It works out perfectly. Works out great for St. Edwards as Vanity catches a player off guard. Frosty down for the count, and that's a very powerful player, a very powerful pawn in this game for Oklahoma Christian.
And now you're just forced to respect the space. 4v3. The Eagles looking for a pick, so that way they can either try to rotate over towards B, it's being watched by Eons, or commit over towards A. But you gotta get player number 4. That's Reality out of bedroom. You also have to be wary that Vanity is, in fact, here. He did eat some shots, so you know that bottom luggage is not secured.
And again, if you have Frosty in this round, this feels a lot more secure than it does right now for the Eagles. They do not want to push for this bomb. Ray is just sitting there behind the help desk, still thinking that somebody from St. Edwards is going to approach. They don't need to. Not with 20 seconds on the clock here, but Cruz is going to catch fresh off guard, and that's what they wanted. They wanted a player to make the first move from St. Edwards. Still, trade in from Reality. Time not really on their side with 9.5 seconds. Reality gets the snipe off, and Cruz will fall. St. Edwards, again, perfect defense, and that is a really great adaptation from them.
Oh, it absolutely is. Again, just playing off the pick. It's kind of the same shades of what we just saw from their previous offensive round, right, Brody? Is that they maintain numbers advantage, but they don't immediately try to hit out another route. They just hold the line. They respect the space. Dang well that Eagles are going to be holding a couple of these line of sights, and they don't want to be feeding trades, so that way they can maintain said numbers advantage that once they get the go-ahead, they know clock's on their side. That silence gets popped by Eons. He commits towards the flank. Got another 2 rounds in a row for the Hilltoppers.
Alrighty. We are going back to back to back at the moment with these 2 rounds. And Frosty, we're also going back to back to back with these snipes from Frosty. Frosty! Again! He is absolutely destroying the comp. And Eons now finds himself in a 1 versus 3. Yeah, Frosty, mate. Can I have, like, just a Frosty hype reel or something?
I mean, he's putting on an absolute clinic as far as the search and destroy sniping goes on Hotel. It's making me eat my own words when I'm sitting there saying, it's like, well, you know, Hotel, search and destroy, you can't get too dynamic with it. But, I mean, when you're just hitting skill shots like that, he's 10 and 4. The majority of these kills coming by way of a sniper. Pretty sure 8 of them are. It is just absolutely absurd. St. Edwards cannot shut him down consistently. That point here for Oklahoma Christian, and they're going to throw a wrench in the system. It's a fast hit towards B, Brody.
Yeah, finally, time to change up the strategy here. They want to make the Hilltoppers feel uncomfortable. Ray's going to get caught from his behind, though. Eons once again goes huge. Nice trade from Frosty. This should slow things up, though, for Eagles, and even maybe make them rethink this entire play.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. They immediately just react against it. I don't know how much information they were able to get, but this is a very fast reaction just to immediately rotate back over towards A. 3v3, Frosty should get this bomb down.
Bomb will go down. What does the post plant look like here for the Eagles? It's pretty good. Hilltoppers. Well, player very far removed. Fresh is nowhere in this play. Reality. Okay, Reality's just seen the hair of Cruz and pulled him up. Now Mandrake. Reality now looking for more over towards the top of the desk. That should be good for the 2v1. Vality, and yeah, we talked about Fresh being out of position. He will fall. Gus, though, in a 1 versus 2, trying to stop this defuse. The angle, it's good, but not good enough. The defuse does come through. St. Edwards, the retake is successful.
Yeah, I mean, shooting through the wall, essentially, through a few of those bullets. I thought that maybe he had a line of sight onto it, but there was the railing, the staircase, the wall. It just was not true damage coming through from the TAC-56. Very close. No cigar. Round 11 is what we're going to here, Brody, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, the Hilltoppers have been able to showcase how adept they are at search and destroy in the previous game. 13-7 for Eons. Frosty, 11-5. A powerful sniper to be on the lookout for, and it's going to be St. Edwards for an offense.
Let's take a look. Hilltoppers barreling towards a no sniper to deal with. It's instead in the middle of the map. It's Frosty switching up from the sniper rifle for this final round. That nade will not connect, but it doesn't matter. Eons is down for the count. The fly across towards couches doesn't initially work. St. Edwards in a 3 versus 4. They're relying on a massive play from Vanity. Can he get it done here?
It's got that silence pop, so they're not going to hear that ladder being climbed up, but it's also being read. What a read by Ray. We'll take down Vanity, 2v4.
Now they're relying on another flanking player. Reality has activated his dead silence. Actually going to manage to catch a player off guard where his teammate could not go off. He does, and there you go. Players go down despite the bomb being planted. It's a much closer affair this time around. Back and forth we go. But in the end, the Eagles are going to win out.
That is just crazy because that is quite literally the power of having an emphatic sniper rifle on the map for the Eagles. I mean, Frosty was just finding way too much value with the sniper through so many different rounds that how would you expect that in that round 11 defense that Frosty's going to put away the sniper, pull out a TAC-56, and then join his comrades in just flying at them aggressively, defensively, meeting them, knowing dang well that it is not going to be a BXQ this time. They tried that twice over. It worked maybe once at a slow roll effect. But man, I tell you, this Hilltoppers roster is being absolutely tested. This Eagles roster, on the other hand, are the real flippin' deal, Brody.
I just like the adaptations that we saw really from both rosters, to be honest. Like, I think, very quickly, St. Edwards learned that their biggest threat on the other side was Frosty. Frosty, I think, really realized pretty quickly as well that they knew that, so he repositioned himself a couple of times where maybe St. Edwards weren't expecting him to be. But more than that, I just think, these guys actually both very, very good at search and destroy in the way that they were playing around the map as a unit. So many great rotations coming out, so many great plays as well. What a search and destroy for our map number 2 here, Andy.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And again, it's twice on over that we saw that push for Oklahoma Christian where they just send 3 players over towards info and Cruz is that island player pushing across the restaurant side. And one of those 3 players for the Eagles is Frosty with the sniper rifle, and he finds a lot of value with it. This round was interesting within its own self. St. Edwards were able to win that, but I feel like it would have been entirely different if Cruz actually exemplified a little bit more discipline rather than getting maybe antsy on top of that TV. I know it's hard to stand on top of a TV, not saying that I've tried, but I'm just saying that if he holds that angle a little bit longer and he waits for the information cue, that round might play out just a little bit differently, but it was a war of attrition. Even this round right here, it very much so could have been over. And Gus had a little bit better of a line of sight to be able to deal with that player that was on the defuse, but a numbers advantage in a nutshell. It was just clinical here in this round 11 for Oklahoma Christian, where they overwhelmed the middle of the map. No sniper rifle required. They'll take a 2-0 lead in the series.
I think what's wild as well about that penultimate round is it was like a 2 versus 3, right? Effectively, because Thresh wasn't in the play. Like, he was in no man's land as far as that actual play was concerned. So to make that 2 versus 3 work for St. Edwards was just nutty, to be honest. But still, tooth and nail they fought. Tooth and nail they will fall. St. Edwards are not able to get it done here in round 11. And shout out to Eons and Frosty, the players on the board here that went absolutely off for the respective rosters. 13-8 for Eons and 13-5 for Frosty. Just great performances, I think, from those players, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, 1-9 for Thresh. I mean, the guy was finding some very, very unfortunate timing, but it almost felt like that it was like either the Eons versus Cruz or the Thresh versus Cruz. It always felt like that in those very stray 1v1s in the battle for timings. That's why Thresh was so disassociated from that play the entire time when the retake was going down over at A. It was simply because Thresh was always just thinking in the back of his mind that there could be a player flanking so long as either that probably Cruz was alive. I don't remember the round specifically because it's 11 rounds and my brain is trying to comprehend.
Yeah,
it's been a long day of Call of Duty, brother, but man, this Oklahoma Christian roster just continues to impress.
Well, not a lot separating in the search and destroy at the very least, Standy, but it is ultimately the Eagles. They're now 2-0 up over the Hilltoppers, and now it is the Hilltoppers find themselves 2-0 down in the series. They need to find a win in Control, and well, we know that Control wasn't exactly treating them kind in that last series. We'll have that Control after a very brief break. Don't go anywhere. Everybody, I was going to say howdy, and then I didn't say howdy, but hey, everybody, how we doing? It's like 4:04 in the morning for me. Stop laughing, Andy. Shut up. Shut up. It's time back for the CCL 2023. Oh, goodness me. Oklahoma Christian go head-to-head with the St. Edwards roster, and yeah, St. Edwards not having as fun of a time as they did in the last series. I think that much is for sure. Is a look at the best of 5 map sets so far. Map number 1, Oklahoma Christian. I think they just took a couple of hard points, I think, away from the Hilltoppers that maybe they didn't really want to give away. Search and Destroy, though, that was a lot closer.
Yeah, I mean, it's as close as a Search and Destroy can get. I mean, unless you can seemingly draw a Search and Destroy. Can you do that? What if you just, like, have, like, a trade as, like, the last 1v1? What happens? I don't want to break your brain. I don't want to break your brain. I know it's 4 a.m. Yeah, I mean, round 11, Search and Destroy, the Hilltoppers get done to them what they did to the Dust Devils in their map number 1 in the second series of the day, where they only accrued 30 points in the second set. And Oklahoma Christian just looked like an indomitable team. Now we go over towards Hotel Control. This was the one map that St. Edwards lost in their previous best of 5 series. What's the immediate turnaround going to look like?
We shall see. In towards this Control we go, and look at this! Look at this start! Brave picks up 2. Gus and Frosty combine for the full 4, and yeah, I mean, look at St. Edwards on the map. They have to make a choice here, right? I mean, do you kind of hit this through the middle of the map? It seems like that might be the case. Looking for some extra frags, they can pick a 1. It might give them warranty to push forward. Still a fight on here for the Eagles, and as that kill comes through, is it done? No, it's not! Fresh actually comes through the kill on towards Ray. Cruz still has an opportunity to finish things off, and I think as he picks up Fresh, it will be done. But what a stellar start coming out from the Eagles. Ray denied a streak, but that's okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, now you're already showing presence over by A. They're fighting straight trades. Oh, my goodness. This might be one of the fastest Control rounds. Mark it down. This might be one of the fastest Control rounds all CCL year. Thresh has to go big on the flank. They're being met over by Wine as well. Oh, man, Brody, this pinch needs to be successful.
Could well be so as well. We know what these players are capable of, but Reality loses his ones. Fresh on the other side, able to pick 1. Any more than that would be nice. A second, a third. The shots are good enough for Vanity to finish things off. A sliver away from the capture was the Eagles, but denied here as St. Edwards regained Control.
Hilltopper can somehow find a way to wipe sweat off their brow. That's exactly what these 4 players are doing, let me tell you. Reality's pushed up. A little bit of an overextension will come through, but now the flank might just be opened up. Good read by Vanity to at least deal with the player that was flanking through. It's all about kitchen control. For now, St. Edwards are maintaining that presence on the map. Will enable Vanity with their dead silence to play in this 1-for-1 position, cut down respawns as they're trying to come through mid-map.
All it takes is 1 good kit from the Eagles. Got to get past 2 players inside kitchen. Fresh is pretty far forward. Has got the cover from Eons there. If that was a look, he probably would have died. But of course, Fresh has already got on a 6 spree and the cruise missile in the back pocket. Just trying to keep away any straggling players from getting close towards the control zone. Frosty able to pick up 1, but traded away here. Reality, job is far from done as Gus still pushing around the back line. Big ones being won in and around this control zone by St. Edwards again. This one last push just refuses to come through.
And all these stray gunfights that are coming through, St. Edwards have actually flipped the life lead. It's 13 plays up against 7. Only have 4 respawns remaining, 3, excuse me, math is hard, for Oklahoma Christian. Really trying to make this push come through. Player number 1 of Cruz, he's all the way in the back, behind P2. While the rest of his teammates are trying to clear away kitchen, get that 3rd segment.
Last push. Saying it a lot. Can they finally get it done? St. Edwards feel like they're going to trade off. That kill versus Gus would have been nice, but I think that probably might be the thing that closes this one out in a 4 versus 9.
Well,
Lives not in favor. They've got 2 on the point, though. And yeah, I think I might have spoken too soon here. To be honest, Andy, yeah, this point's going. That is a nice stun from Vanity, or on towards Vanity, sorry. I tell you what, mate. Close shave. Was that a 4 versus 10 at the end there? They were on the last set of lives.
Yeah, but again, it mostly comes down to the patience play from Cruz. It wasn't intentional for how slow he was. It was totally disciplined. So that way he was just clearing away all these corners inside of shops, around the hole, around Chandelier, just trying to clear away all these corners that once his teammates were confirming that they found those 2 eliminations towards the middle of the map, and you even found 1 trade inside a kitchen, you knew where that last player was going to be located at, and that was in fact inside a pantry. Even in a 4v odd situation, again, it only takes 1 good push, 2-player stack, stun the doorways, and Edwards now need to answer back with an offense.
Going to be straight towards B for the St. Edwards roster. Good start, to be fair. The vast majority of kills going their way, and it will result in Frosty off the spawn be the first one to try and do something about this. He only really has to contest Vanity for the moment. Reality providing coverage from the bedroom side, but Vanity is the only one you need to actually remove from the point. That will not last long, though. They are taking the time with this one, Eagles. Nice nade from Gus. Again, this early on, no trophy systems to help you out, and the trade's still in your favor here if you're the Eagles. You've given away 1 tick, but it's fresh. In for the double. Gus able to trade things out. Gus able to make things even better here. Will tip the balance in favor of the Eagles, and this is very much an unsuccessful first offensive attempt from St. Edwards. They get 1 tick, that is all they're going to get for the moment.
And again, it's shades of a previous offense that they face off against the Dust Devils, where you have Thresh as the last alive. He finds a couple kills, but there's no immediate assistance to be able to back things up over by the zone. That it just takes 1 player, top or bottom bedroom, to maybe drop down and help Thresh out, but it just is simply not meant to be. Look at the control through the middle of the map that Oklahoma Christian have. You got player number 4 of Ray. He's all the way up top. You know that St. Edwards have to clear out all these positions, but it's going to take so much time, and they have to get on these zones. They have to stop the clock.
Cruz with a double dope. Again, it's this problematic push, but the close spawns do come through again, despite the fact that Ray has control of bedroom. So an opportunity presenting itself here. 25 seconds on the clock now. It needs to be more than an opportunity. It needs to be a conversion from St. Edwards. It just isn't enough. Reality is now the last player left alive to do something about this. Advanced positioning starting to come out of Ray. He wants to grab a couple of players off spawn, not able to do so. Reality does fall over towards B, so it has to be an A push, all or nothing here from St. Edwards. That kill from Vanity should secure a look here for St. Edwards on towards A, perhaps a little more than that as well. Reality through the double arches, able to take down Ray, and yeah, this should now be more than a look.
First segment will be taken over here at A. Second segment at B was depleted. That's just how adept this Oklahoma Christian squad is. Cruz is on 4 in a row. He would love to get a Cruz missile, but may not even matter. Third segment will be on the way over here at A. 60 seconds added on towards the board, 12v11.
Massive clutch there coming out. St. Edwards, big ticks as well for a perspective, and we really do mean perspective round number 5 at this point. Cruz in the back line, trying to stop any potential flankers coming through. Had already got shots into Vanity, so definitely knows that he's here, and more than that as well. Cruz acts on the information, takes him down. Talking about acting on information, Frosty over here by double arches, knows that someone's hanging about. Fresh has absolutely none of that loitering. Will be down, and now in an 11 versus 5 here, St. Edwards has wasted so much time, so many resources trying to get B early on. They don't have anything to work with on this second B hit.
And the positioning on the map for Oklahoma Christian just forces all of St. Edwards to spawn over by Kitchen. You're dealing with the player that was trying to go on a flank. That was Reality. Cruz, again, is on another spree as well. Dead Silence pops. Hey, how's it going? Finish your food. We'll find the first, can't find the second. I've seen some immaculate things in Control, but a 1v7 I do not have on my bingo card. Vanity is just pieced up. He's also getting scouted out through lobby. Oklahoma Christian only allow 4 segments of progression to come all the way through. They have a 2-0 lead, not only in the series, but also in the Control.
And again, I kind of said it there just before kind of that last hit coming on through, that last hurrah. Like, they spent so long hitting B, like, time and time and time again, and it was just a brick wall that by the point they'd actually managed to get some form of control over it by A, they've given up, and they'd finally hit an A, kind of the last-ditch effort. Like, they just wasted too many resources into it. And that sometimes can be the thing. Doing things over and over again. It's a definition of madness, Andy, and I'm not just asking that, or insanity, I should say. I'm not just asking that because you happen to look like him. Regardless. Nice. Sorry, mate. Regardless, Eagles on their offense. Let's see what they can get done. First couple of kills coming through from St. Edwards. Nice kill from Cruz, but It is now going to be all down to Gus. Again, close spawns from Oklahoma Christian. They're still in a good shot gear at taking B early on. Frosty, he's going to stop the point.
Yeah, again, this is where I start having the conversation of a lot of players need to be careful about their positioning on the map, because although Reality meant well over on the A zone, he's still allowing players to spawn closer towards the B zone. And with all the focus now after Reality goes down, closer spawns parallel over towards A. That first segment at B was already confirmed. It'll be a segment confirmed over at A. And Oklahoma Christian are setting themselves up through the middle of the map to deny respawns, potentially for St. Edwards to work their way back in.
This will be big from St. Edwards if they can try and stop this point. 2 versus 1, and they do hit him separately. Why hitting him separately in that situation? I think there was a semblance of an attempt to try and hit him at the same time, but just doesn't happen. A little bit of mistimings, and Gus off the back of that, not able to get just 2, but a third as well. Gus now on 4 in a row. Not a lot to be done here. Gus is just tearing through the opposition. Shots going out. Those 2 kills will elude him for a moment, but it should be okay because Cruz is there to pick him up afterwards. He's just hoovering up these kills. Trash left behind in his wake. I mean, Gus is just tearing.
Cruz also has dead silence. He knows that Eons was over here. Regen might come through, but it doesn't matter. Those players are cut down inside a bedroom. Now the defense for St. Edwards, well, this is all going to be through the bar. But again, I urge you, St. Edwards, somebody hit a route. Please, clear some of these players out through lobby and get some mid-map control.
It's just not happening. Finally, Gus will be shut down there. Things back to normal here. Fresh with a nice kill. But look over towards bedroom side. This is the map control that we're really concerned about here for St. Edwards. Trade going down in the middle of the map. Fresh, I think, recognizes that, hey, there's not really much control. And especially as Free go down here, Thresh's cruise missile needs to connect with at least 1, and it won't even get that. Frosty hides inside luggage. Here comes the hit. 1 more tick, and this series is done. Ray Cruz. That should be the closer on this one, as Oklahoma Christian 3-0 in the control, a 3-0 in the series.
I mean, it's just so disrespectful just how fast they are once they recognize that they have an opening, that they know that they can just gun people. This turn right here on a Gus, oh my God.
Yeah.
I gotta steal a phrase from Shift real quick. Mercy, because that is just insane. 22 and 14 out of Gus. I mean, this is semblance of what we saw from the hard point. We started depicting that this is how the respawns were going to go. And it really did feel like that the Hilltoppers, their best bet was going to be search and destroy. But that control, man, I tell you, every single time that Oklahoma Christian had an inch, they turned that into a country freaking mile. They just were able to convert so many different kills into so many different power positions on the map itself. It always felt like that they were dictating pace in the middle of the map. Yeah, barring maybe 1 or 2 gunfights that went the way of the Hilltoppers, it always felt like the Oklahoma Christian were coming out on the trade game more often than not.
I think you kind of talked about it there, right? It's just like every time there is an opportunity, every time there's an opening for Oklahoma Christian to do something, like whether it's a collapse onto the point or, you know, garnering map control off the back of a couple of kills, like they do it. They don't hesitate to do that. And I think we just saw that time and time again there in that one where Oklahoma Christian just absolutely setting the mood for this series. It's looking so good. And again, we talk about kind of individual players. I know you were talking about one, but like this was really a team effort. Like every single player was kind of popping off, getting 2 pieces when required, getting important gunfights when required as well. Like Oklahoma Christian, man, they are just a force to be reckoned with. And this is my first time getting to see this new look Eagles roster. It excites me, man. I'm kind of hyped to see more of them.
Again, this was the battle, in my opinion, and so many others, for first place in the Western region for Division 1. And yeah, the search and destroy went around 11, but in the respawns, Eagles just let the Hilltoppers absolutely have it. That cruise missile, by the way, that's the strongest door in a hotel I've ever seen in my life. And I've Kool-Aid Man through a few doors in hotels in my day, Brody, let me tell you. But that is just absolutely absurd scenes, even barring some heroics, just simply were not enough for St. Edwards, who, fortunately, Reality didn't want us to take a look at his stats. I mean, Thresh, we've kind of had him to this high standard that even when his team is in a losing fashion, he's still good to drop a few numbers, barring that search and destroy. I think he only went like 1 and 9, but 24 and 14, that's pretty good. It's just the SMGs just could not get the ball rolling, not versus Gus and their flexibility. 22 and 14, Cruz was also pulling out. The Vaznev continuously only had 3 traded kills out of the 18. Come on. These guys are gross.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good, and you've already talked about it, kind of the context of this story here between Oklahoma Christian and St. Edwards potentially being a battle for not just first in the region, maybe even first down the line in the entirety of the 2023 CCL season, right? So this was a really important preview, I think, for both of these two rosters, and kind of a good setting of the tone, I think, for the Hilltoppers, right? You know, we've seen them twice today. We saw them earlier on, their 3-1 victory over the Dust Devils, and they look disgusting. But then we got some good old glass of perspective in that second series with them getting 3-0'd by Oklahoma Christian. And it does set up an interesting story, right? Because, again, this is a new look Oklahoma Christian roster for this season of the CCL. And goodness gracious, it's a good look. They could walk this one on a fashion run. I don't know. They're looking pretty good here. We take a look at the series, though, at 250 to 121. Again, that was an indomitable hardpoint from them. A very close search and destroy. Back and forth we went. So we've got to give Hilltoppers some credit for that one. But, I mean, even looking at that hotel hardpoint, man, I mean, the control was just so dominant from Oklahoma Christian. It was just an absolute showing.
Again, I urge you all to really listen to the phrase that I'm about to say. It was only 30 points allowed. It was a 40-point difference, more or less, going in towards the second set. Oklahoma Christian only allowed 30 points to be accrued on that map 1 in the second set of hardpoints to win that map 1 the way that they did. Just absurd scenes. Though I will say this much for the Hilltoppers. Again, I keep on talking about their facility, their back-of-house, other things that they have at their disposal. You have this VOD to watch for. You have other matches, obviously, later on down the line as far as regional matchups are concerned here in Division 1. This is going to be your biggest learning curve until, I would honestly say, until we start seeing inter-regional matchups. But you got to go back and you got to study this because you need to have immediate turnaround and you need to have that effect sooner rather than later.
A nice early preview, I think, for what is going to be two of the best teams I think we have here in the CCL for the 2023 season. What a great matchup to be treated to, I think, as well, Andy. You and I, of course, very early doors. This is only week number 1 of all the wonderful action that we've got ahead for the 2023 season. Just, I think, incredible for what we've had so far, every single match. Just very briefly, though, before we close things out here for the first week of action, just want to give a shout to our sponsors once more for who are so awesome for sponsoring the CCL for this year. Found out, of course, America's Navy, and of course, just learn a little more about the Goats and Glory esports team. Of course, if you guys already know, esports is a competitive environment that requires loyalty, teamwork, split-second decision-making, and effective communications under pressure, which are all integral to various Navy careers. So, of course, you guys might already have those skills that you require for America's Navy, so go check those guys out. And, of course, Shadows Fandom as well, sponsoring the CCL for the 2023 season. But I've already said it, Andy. Week number 1 is done and dusted, mate. We've had an incredible week of action here in the first week of CCL for 2023, but this is only the beginning. We've got a long road ahead of us before we crown our 2023 CCL champions, and all the action will return once again next Monday at the usual time, 12:30 Eastern, for more CCL. Do not miss it. For myself and Andy here on the casting desk and all the wonderful crew behind the CCL for the 2023 season, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's broadcast. We'll see you next week for more college action.